Imagine this. The lights of Los Angeles flicker against the night sky, the city buzzing with whispers and the hip-hop world holding its breath. Drake, the global superstar who built an empire on slick rhymes and radio-friendly hits, has just done the unthinkable. He's pulled Tupac's name, yes. The very legend whose legacy still defines real rap straight into a simmering feud with Kendrick Lamar. Fans are calling it reckless. Critics are labeling it career suicide and Kendrick's camp. They're seething. Word is private text messages, studio rants, and even late-night phone calls between industry power players are flying back and forth, all centered on one shocking question. Why would Drake dare to taunt Kendrick with the ghost of Tupac? Some insiders say Drake is desperate to prove he's untouchable, using Tupac's name like a weapon. Others claim it's a calculated move, designed to poke Kendrick where it hurts most, his deep connection to West Coast rap's spiritual father. But here's the kicker, Tupac's family isn't staying silent. Rumors suggest an explosive statement is brewing, and if it drops, it could split the hip-hop community in half. Tonight, we're peeling back the curtain on the dangerous game Drake is playing with Tupac's legacy. And trust me, you won't believe where this story leads. The story truly begins on a quiet evening in Los Angeles, where whispers turned into headlines overnight. Drake had just left a recording session when an audio clip mysteriously leaked online. In that clip, you could hear him laughing with his team, tossing lines about how even Tupac would have sided with me against Kendrick. Within hours, social media was ablaze. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. Some thought it was fake, a deepfake trick designed to stir drama. Others insisted it was undeniably his voice. The divide was instant, the outrage immediate. Emotions ran high, and the hip-hop community braced for impact. Kendrick's single quotes S camp didn't stay silent. Insiders revealed that one of Kendrick's closest producers stormed into a meeting, slamming his phone on the table and shouting, "Drake just crossed the line. This isn't about music anymore, this is about legacy." From that moment, the feud shifted. No longer was it just two rappers throwing shade through slick verses. It became a clash over who had the right to invoke Tupac's name, and what that name represented for the culture. The tension escalated when fans dug up old interviews where Tupac's family had expressed their respect for Kendrick's artistry. One interview with Tupac's sister resurfaced, where she had praised Kendrick for carrying the torch of authentic storytelling. That clip went viral again, reminding everyone that Kendrick's bond with Tupac's legacy wasn't imagined, was recognized by the family itself. Fans began flooding timelines with posts like, "Drake can't play with Pac's name like this," and "Kendrick was chosen, Drake is just borrowing shine." The backlash was brutal, but Drake remained silent, which only added fuel to the fire. Behind closed doors, things were reportedly much more chaotic. Sources close to Drake described him as furious that the world was turning against him so quickly. One insider claimed Drake was pacing in his Toronto mansion, saying, "They're twisting my words, I wasn't dissing Tupac, I was proving a point." Kendrick's not untouchable, but others in his circle warned him that this wasn't the hill to die on. "You don't want to anger the legacy," one friend allegedly told him, referring to the almost spiritual reverence fans hold for Tupac's name. Drake, however, was stubborn. "They need to know I'm not afraid." He shot back. As the noise grew louder, Kendrick's silence became its own weapon. Fans interpreted it as dignity, a refusal to stoop to Drake's level. But inside Kendrick's camp, emotions boiled. One source revealed that Kendrick was writing furiously, penning bars late into the night, replaying that leaked clip over and over. He reportedly told a friend, "It's not about me anymore. It's about respect for the culture." Those words spread quietly, shared like wildfire among industry insiders who knew that Kendrick doesn't speak lightly. Every word carried. Wait, and this one promised fire. And then came the twist that no one saw coming. Tupac's estate began drafting a statement. Whispers circulated that the family felt Drake had overstepped, that dragging Tupac's name into petty feuds dishonored his memory. One insider claimed that a letter was written directly addressing Drake, telling him to keep Pac's name out of your games. Fans were stunned at the possibility. If that letter went public, it wouldn't just be a blow to Drake's image. Would mark him as disrespectful to a hip-hop god. The industry quickly split into camps. Some rappers sided with Drake, insisting he had the right to use hip-hop's icons in lyrical sparring. "Hip-hop has always been about invoking legends," one Atlanta rapper tweeted. but others were merciless. A veteran West Coast artist posted, "Drake's playing with fire. You don't taunt a man who gave his life for this culture." The tension wasn't just between Drake and Kendrick anymore. It had spread across the entire community, drawing lines between loyalty, respect, and ambition. Meanwhile, fans began creating conspiracies of their own. Some claimed Drake leaked the audio himself to stir controversy and stay relevant as Kendrick's dominance in Laya was growing louder. Others insisted it was part of a larger scheme to bait Kendrick into releasing a diss track, setting the stage for a battle of the decade. Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok became battlegrounds, with edits, fan theories, and emotional posts dominating the feeds. Hashtags like #RespectPac and #Drake vs Kenny trended for days, turning what started as a leaked joke into a cultural war. Kendrick's friends spoke out one by one. A member of his crew went live on Instagram, his face tense, his words sharp. "We don't play with Pac. Drake knows better. He wants attention, but he's about to get more than he bargained for." Fans swarmed the comments, screaming for Kendrick to drop a response track. But Kendrick stayed quiet, almost taunting Drake with his silence. As the world debated, Drake made his next move. Instead of apologizing or clarifying, he doubled down. At a private event in Vegas, Drake performed a freestyle where he slipped. In a line, "Legends would choose me if they were alive." The crowd gasped, phones flew into the air, and within minutes, the clip was online. This time, the backlash was even harsher. Fans accused him of arrogance, of rewriting history to place himself above icons. One comment read, "Drake's ego is out of control for his Pac. Who's next, Biggie?" But what truly shook the community was the response from Tupac's nephew, who tweeted, "My uncle's name ain't your toy, Drake." That single line exploded across the internet, racking up millions of views in hours. For many, it confirmed that the family was indeed angry, and it raised the stakes higher than ever before. Drake wasn't just battling Kendrick anymore, he was staring down the wrath of a legacy. Behind the scenes, Drake's team began damage control. Publicists were calling magazines, bloggers, anyone who would listen, trying to spin the story into something lighter. One narrative suggested that Drake's words were taken out of context. Another tried to push the idea that Drake was honoring Tupac by invoking his name. But the more they pushed, the less people believed it. Fans saw desperation, not sincerity, and the backlash continued. Kendrick, however, was watching. According to one insider, he listened to Drake's Vegas freestyle with a tight smile, then simply said, "He's digging his own grave." His team knew exactly what that meant. Kendrick doesn't move fast, but when he strikes, it cuts deep. Everyone in the room knew that when Kendrick finally decided to respond, it wouldn't just be music, it would be history. As days passed, the pressure mounted. Fans begged for a resolution, for Kendrick to drop a track or for Drake to back down. But neither side budged. Drake's pride wouldn't let him apologize, and Kendrick's silence became more deafening with each passing hour. Industry veterans warned that this feud could become bigger than either man expected. "This isn't just rap beef," one DJ said on a podcast. "This is spiritual warfare over who gets to hold Tupac's torch." And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more tense, a bombshell report surfaced that Tupac's estate was preparing to release an unreleased audio recording of Tupac himself, in which he allegedly praised authenticity and condemned opportunists in the industry. Whether it was directly aimed at Drake or not didn't matter, the timing was enough to set the stage for an all-out explosion. When word broke that Tupac's estate was preparing to release an unreleased audio recording, the entire industry froze. The thought alone carried the weight of prophecy. Fans speculated endlessly. What if the message spoke directly to the current state of hip-hop? What if Tupac, from beyond the grave, had unknowingly chosen sides in this very war between Drake and Kendrick? The tension was unbearable, and insiders said streaming platforms were already preparing for a record-breaking drop the moment the estate confirmed it. Drake's team panicked. Behind closed doors, his managers and label executives held emergency meetings. One executive reportedly slammed his fist on the table, shouting, "If that recording drops and fans connected to Drake, we're finished." Drake himself wasn't silent in these meetings. According to a source close to him, he leaned back in his chair, exhaled deeply, and said, "They can't use Pac against me. I'll turn it into fuel." His confidence rattled some of his own people who were urging him to step back. Kendrick, on the other hand, welcomed the news. Insiders claimed that when he first heard about the unreleased audio, he smirked and said, "Pac's words don't need me to fight for them. They'll speak louder than I ever could." Those in the room described it as chilling, like Kendrick already knew the recording would tilt the scales in his favor. Days turned into nights of anticipation. Rumors flooded social media. Some said the tape was Tupac speaking about loyalty and betrayal. Others claimed it was a raw freestyle condemning rappers who sell out for fame. Every leak and speculation added to the pressure building over Drake's shoulders. Then, before the estate could even release the audio, a leaked snippet hit the internet. Grainy, muffled, but powerful. Tupac's unmistakable voice spoke. "This game ain't for the fake, it's for the real who bleed for it." The snippet was less than 20 seconds long, but it sent shockwaves through hip-hop. Fans immediately linked the words to Drake, calling him the fake Pac was warning about. Within hours, #PacSpoke trended worldwide. The backlash was relentless. One fan tweeted, "Pac warned us years ago, and now Drake is proving him right." Another posted, "Kendrick didn't even have to drop a verse. Pac already dissed Drake from the grave." The weight of cultural judgment was crashing down hard, and Drake could feel it. In Toronto, sources claimed Drake had a heated meltdown with one of his closest friends. The friend urged him to issue a public apology, to clarify that he meant no disrespect to Tupac or his legacy. Drake reportedly snapped, "If I apologize, they'll say I'm weak. If I stay strong, they'll say I'm arrogant. Either way, I lose." The friend responded quietly, "Sometimes respect matters more than winning." Those words lingered in the air, but Drake wasn't ready to hear them. Kendrick's camp, meanwhile, remained eerily silent. No tweets, no lives, no leaks. That silence itself became the loudest weapon. Fans flooded Kendrick's comment sections with messages like, "Thank you for protecting the culture, and stay quiet, you already won." The silence was interpreted as wisdom, as patience, as dignity. But behind the scenes, Kendrick was not idle. Insiders revealed he was working on a track one that wouldn't just address Drake, but the entire question of legacy, respect, and authenticity in hip-hop. As the feud escalated, other rappers began picking sides more openly. One West Coast legend went on a podcast and declared, "Drake messed up when he brought Pac into this. You can't just throw his name around for clout. He means too much to too many people." On the other hand, a younger trap artist defended Drake, saying, "It's rap, man, you can say whatever." Pac would have respected the competition. These debates weren't just about two rappers anymore. They were about the soul of hip-hop. Things grew darker when a report surfaced that Drake had privately reached out to Tupac's estate, begging them not to release the full recording. One anonymous source from the estate revealed he didn't ask politely. He was desperate. He said it would ruin him. The estate, however, wasn't budging. Their stance was clear. Tupac's words belonged to the people, not to the politics of the moment. Drake's frustration began spilling out in small ways. At a private party in Miami, someone caught him on video, visibly intoxicated, ranting to a group of people. "Kendrick thinks Pac chose him? Pac didn't choose anybody. I'm the one at the top. I'm the one they can't touch." The clip leaked within hours, and the internet dragged him even further. The arrogance was now undeniable, and even some of his most loyal fans started questioning his choices. Kendrick, upon seeing the clip, reportedly laughed for the first time in weeks. One source close to him shared, "Kendrick just shook his head and said, 'The crown makes some people lose themselves.' Then he went right back to writing." As if the drama wasn't enough, rumors began to swirl that Kendrick had been in secret talks with Tupac's family. Though unconfirmed, fans speculated that the family had given Kendrick their blessing to respond however he saw fit. The narrative was clear. Kendrick was now the guardian of Tupac's legacy, while Drake was cast as the reckless antagonist. And then, in the middle of the chaos, Drake tried to flip the script. He announced an exclusive interview with a major hip-hop magazine, teasing that he would set the record straight once and for all. Anticipation was high, but the outcome was disastrous. During the interview, Drake insisted, "I never disrespected Pac. I invoked his name because I admire him, because I see myself in his struggle." But the interviewer pushed back, asking, "Don't you think comparing yourself to Pac is part of the problem?" Drake hesitated, then responded, "If people can't see him on that level, that's their issue. The quote exploded online. Fans accused him of narcissism, of comparing himself to an untouchable legend. One headline even read, "Drake crowns himself the new Tupac and fans are disgusted." Instead of fixing the situation, the interview poured gasoline on the fire. Kendrick's silence became unbearable. Fans demanded action, begged for a diss track. And finally, whispers spread that the track was ready. Insiders leaked that Kendrick's new song wasn't just a response to Drake, it was a cultural manifesto. One insider described the track as surgical, cutting Drake to pieces line by line while lifting Tupac's name higher than ever. Drake caught wind of the looming track and became restless. He reportedly called his producers at 3 a.m., demanding they prepare beats for a counter-diss. "If Kendrick wants war, I'll give him war," he told them. But his team was divided. Some urged him to go all in, while others warned him that every move he made only deepened the perception that he was disrespecting Tupac's memory. The stage was set for the ultimate showdown. Fans worldwide were counting down, waiting for Kendrick to break his silence. And as the clock ticked, a new rumor shook the internet. Kendrick's track wasn't dropping alone. It was allegedly going to feature audio from Tupac himself, woven into the song like a blessing from beyond. Whether this was true or not didn't matter, the belief alone was enough to electrify the culture. At this point, it was no longer just about music. It was about history, respect, and the very definition of authenticity. Drake had played with fire, and now the flames were closing in. The night before the track was rumored to drop, the internet felt like it was holding its breath. Fans were glued to their phones, refreshing every music platform, every leak site, every blog. Some swore they already heard snippets in underground circles. Others claimed the estate of Tupac had personally approved the track, making it more than just a song, it was a passing of the torch. The speculation alone created an atmosphere of electricity, like the entire hip-hop world was waiting for a lightning strike. Drake, meanwhile, wasn't sleeping. Sources revealed he spent the night pacing his Toronto studio, blasting beats at full volume, mumbling unfinished lines into the mic, trying to prepare for whatever Kendrick was about to unleash. One insider described the scene as tense and almost desperate. He was sweating, his eyes bloodshot, like he knew the track could be the end of him if he didn't prepare. When the clock struck midnight, fans around the world refreshed their screens, and then it happened. Kendrick's new track hit streaming platforms like a thunderclap. The title alone sent chills down spines. Guardian of the West. The song was an immediate cultural earthquake. Within minutes, it had millions of plays, trending in dozens of countries. The track opened with a haunting sound. Tupac's voice, pulled from that unreleased recording, layered over a dark beat. Pac's words echoed, "This game ain't for the fake, it's for the real who bleed for it." The decision to place that voice at the very start of the track felt like a declaration, a warning, and a blessing all in one. Fans lost their minds. Social media exploded with posts like, "Kendrick just resurrected Pac to finish Drake, and this is the most powerful opening to a diss track in history." And then Kendrick's voice cut through the beat, sharp, deliberate, unshakable. He didn't waste time with subliminals, he went straight for Drake. "You bribe with the legends, but you ain't built with their blood. Pac died for respect. You just die for the buzz." Every bar hit like a dagger, weaving between praise for Tupac's authenticity and direct attacks on Drake's character. In one devastating verse, Kendrick rapped about Toronto's mansion lights versus Compton streetlights, painting Drake as a man of luxury who could never understand the struggle Tupac lived and died for. The contrast was brutal, and fans erupted with reactions like, "Kendrick just ended the debate in 4 bars." Drake heard it within minutes. Insiders say he sat in his studio, stone-faced, listening to the track 3 times back-to-back without saying a word. Finally, he slammed his headphones down and muttered, "He thinks he's untouchable." But his team saw the fear in his eyes. The fallout was immediate. Within 24 hours, Kendrick's track was hailed as a masterpiece. Critics called it a cultural weapon, an instant classic. Fans weren't just enjoying the song, they were treating it like scripture. The fact that Tupac's voice had been included only cemented the feeling that Kendrick wasn't battling alone, that he had the ghost of the West Coast on his side. Drake tried to respond with bravado. He posted an Instagram story with a cryptic message, "Legends inspire me, not define me." But the internet dragged him. Comments flooded in. "Stop pretending Pac would have picked you. And Kendrick already buried you, it's over. The damage was undeniable. Still, Drake refused to bow. Insiders revealed he immediately began recording his own diss track, determined to flip the narrative. He told his producers, "If he's got Pac's voice, I'll prove I don't need anyone's ghost to back me." It was clear Drake was ready to escalate, even if it meant risking more backlash. But while Drake worked, Kendrick's allies moved swiftly. One of Kendrick's closest friends went live on Instagram, his voice thick with emotion. Kendrick did what needed to be done. Pac's name belongs to the people, not to games of ego. Drake made it about himself, and now the culture made it clear where we stand. The live was viewed by hundreds of thousands in real time, and fans flooded the comments with support, turning it into a rallying cry. In the days following the release, Guardian of the West wasn't just dominating charts, it was dominating conversations. Teachers were quoting it in classrooms, preachers referenced it in sermons, and young rappers were freestyling over its beat as a sign of respect. It transcended music. It became a cultural phenomenon. Drake's family reportedly grew worried. His mother, who has always been quietly supportive of his career, allegedly urged him to stop pushing against Tupac's legacy. "You don't need to fight ghosts," she told him during the late-night call, according to a source. But Drake refused, replying, "If I back down now, they'll erase me from history." That determination, some say, bordered on obsession. As anticipation built for Drake's response, rumors leaked that his diss track was titled Untouchable. The title itself felt like a direct challenge to Kendrick and, by extension, Tupac. Fans were divided, some eager to see if Drake could truly deliver, others disgusted that he was still doubling down instead of showing humility. When the track finally dropped, the reception was explosive, but not in the way Drake hoped. The song opened with him mocking the use of Tupac's voice, rapping, "You needed a ghost, just stand on my level." It was bold, maybe too bold. Fans were stunned. Many saw it as an outright insult, as if Drake was dismissing not just Kendrick, but Tupac himself. One chilling line in Drake's track said, "You guard the West, but I own the globe." Though it was meant to showcase Drake's global reach, fans interpreted it as arrogance, a dismissal of the very culture that birthed hip-hop. Backlash poured in immediately. One fan tweeted, "This isn't just a diss, it's disrespect to the culture." Another wrote, "Drake just wrote his own downfall." Kendrick, true to form, didn't immediately respond. Instead, he posted a single image on social media, a black and white photo of Tupac smiling, no caption, no hashtags. That silence was louder than any verse Drake had spit. Within minutes, the photo went viral, fans hailing it as the ultimate clapback. The media frenzy reached fever pitch. Major outlets declared the feud one of the biggest in hip-hop history. Podcasts dissected every line, fans debated endlessly. In comments, and industry veterans warned that the beef had crossed into dangerous territory. One respected producer said on a radio show, "This ain't just about two rappers anymore. This is about who gets to write the legacy of Tupac in today's culture." The stakes couldn't have been higher. Drake had unleashed his counterstrike. But the culture was leaning heavily toward Kendrick. Whispers suggested that Drake was losing endorsement deals, that brands were quietly pulling back to avoid being caught in the storm. Meanwhile, Kendrick's track continued to soar, becoming not just a song but an anthem of authenticity. And then came the shocking twist. Rumors spread that the estate of Tupac was considering legal action against Drake for exploiting Tupac's name and likeness in a negative light. Though nothing was confirmed, the very idea of it sent fans into a frenzy. Could Drake really face a lawsuit tied to the greatest rapper who ever lived? If true, it could devastate his career both financially and reputationally. Drake's camp denied the rumors, but the damage was already done. The public perception was clear. He wasn't just beefing with Kendrick anymore. He was seen as standing against Tupac's memory, and that was a battle no artist could win. The whispers of legal action grew louder by the day. Though Tupac's estate never officially confirmed, insiders swore that a team of lawyers had already been assembled. The claim wasn't just about Drake invoking Tupac's name. It was about misrepresentation and defamation of a cultural legacy. The thought of Drake sitting in a courtroom, facing the family of Tupac Shakur, was enough to send shockwaves through the industry. Blogs ran with the headlines, fans debated endlessly, and every move Drake made was magnified under a microscope. Behind The scenes, Drake's mood reportedly shifted from defensive to paranoid. Those closest to him described late nights filled with ranting, pacing, and re-recording verses that would never see the light of day. One insider painted the picture. He was obsessed, man. He kept saying, "They're trying to erase me. They're making me the villain," but the truth was, he'd already been cast in that role. Kendrick, meanwhile, was thriving in silence. He didn't need to speak. His track, Guardian of the West, was still climbing charts globally, breaking records for streams and cementing itself as one of the most impactful diss tracks in hip-hop history. Fans weren't just playing it, they were treating it like scripture, quoting its lines in protests, painting murals inspired by Tupac and Kendrick side by side, and sharing edits that turned the feud into a legend of its own. The cultural tide was undeniable. Celebrities outside of rap began weighing in. One Oscar-winning actor tweeted, "Tupac stood for truth. Kendrick carries that torch. Respect." Athletes blasted Kendrick's track during warm-ups. Even a few politicians used Tupac's voice. From the leaked snippet and speeches about authenticity and loyalty, Drake's narrative was crumbling and there seemed no escape. And then came the family. Tupac's sister, who had previously praised Kendrick years ago, released a carefully worded statement on social media. "Our brother's name is not a pawn in anyone's game. His legacy belongs to the people, to those who honor his truth. We are proud of artists who uplift his message, not twist it." Though she didn't name Drake directly, everyone knew exactly who the words were aimed at. The post went viral within minutes. Fans declared it the final nail in the coffin. Drake's response was swift but clumsy. He posted a video of himself speaking directly to the camera, his tone calm but his eyes heavy with exhaustion. "I never meant disrespect. I admire Pac. I grew up inspired by him. But I can't let anyone tell me who I can and can't mention in my music. I'm an artist. I speak my truth." Some fans sympathized, but most weren't buying it. The comment section flooded with harsh replies. "It's not your truth if it disrespects his. Pac wouldn't have rocked with you, and Kendrick already finished this." His public image was now spiraling. Endorsements began pulling back quietly, and rumors spread that his label was nervous about future collaborations. One insider whispered, "The brand Drake built is based on being loved. Once you become the villain, it's hard to sell love songs and champagne tours." Kendrick, again, didn't say a word. But one night, he appeared unexpectedly at a small club in La, performing Guardian of the West live for the first time. The crowd lost their minds. At the end of the performance, he didn't even mention Drake, he simply raised his fist to the sky and said, "For Pac." The moment was immortalized instantly, shared across every platform. It wasn't just a performance. It was a coronation. The pressure on Drake became unbearable. Sources say he locked himself away for days, refusing calls, cutting off even some of his closest friends. One of his producers described the atmosphere. He felt cornered. He kept saying, "No one understands. I built this from nothing. I earned this." But every time he said it, he sounded less sure of himself. Then came another twist, rumors of a leaked document claiming Drake's team had indeed reached out to Tupac's estate, begging for silence and attempting to negotiate with money. If true, it painted him as both guilty and desperate. Fans mocked him, creating memes of Drake offering stacks of cash to a ghost. The internet's cruelty only deepened his wounds. Kendrick's fans celebrated while Drake's most loyal followers tried to defend him, but the imbalance was clear. The majority had chosen their side, and it wasn't Drake's. One journalist wrote in a viral op-ed, "Drake wanted to play with Tupac's legacy, but he forgot that legacy doesn't belong to one man. It belongs to a culture." And the culture chose Kendrick. The breaking point came when Kendrick announced a surprise festival performance in Los Angeles, dedicated to the spirit of hip-hop. Thousands poured into the venue, and halfway through his set, a massive projection of Tupac's face lit up the stage. Fans screamed, cried, and raised their phones as Tupac's voice played once again. "The game ain't for the fake, it's for the real who bleed for it." Kendrick followed those words with his verse from Guardian of the West, and the crowd erupted like an earthquake. The moment was instantly hailed as legendary, the final confirmation that Kendrick had inherited the torch. Drake, watching from afar, reportedly smashed a glass against the wall when he saw clips of the event. One insider claimed he muttered, "They've erased me. I'm the outsider now." The bitterness in his tone revealed the truth. He had lost control of the narrative. The fallout was irreversible. Major podcasts and hip-hop historians began cementing the story. Drake as the reckless antagonist who disrespected Tupac's memory, Kendrick as the chosen guardian who restored it. The more time passed, the more the narrative solidified. And yet, despite the destruction, some of Drake's closest allies urged him to step away gracefully. One mentor allegedly told him, "If you want to save your career, you gotta stop fighting ghosts. Own your mistakes, apologize, and rebuild." Whether Drake would listen remained a mystery. By the end of it all, fans agreed on one thing. This wasn't just a feud. It was a cultural reckoning, a dangerous game that Drake played with Tupac's legacy, and one that left him bruised, battered, and publicly humbled. Kendrick didn't just win a battle, he cemented himself as the moral compass of hip-hop in a way no diss track alone could have done. And so the dust settles, but the scars remain. What began as a simple flex turned into one of the most dangerous games Drake has ever played, one that cost him not just a feud, but the love of a culture that once embraced him. Kendrick never needed to shout, never needed to rush, because silence, patience, and authenticity spoke louder than any freestyle. When he finally moved, he didn't just respond, he created a moment that aligned him with Tupac's spirit in a way no one could deny. Drake, on the other hand, is left in the shadows. His legacy questioned, his motives doubted, and his pride shattered. Some say he can rebuild, others argue this feud will forever define the cracks in his empire. But one thing is certain, the ghost of Tupac remains undefeated. And that leaves us with the biggest question: where does hip-hop go from here? Has Kendrick officially claimed the torch of authenticity, or is there still room for Drake to redeem himself? Did Drake's boldness prove he's fearless or reckless? And most importantly, how will future generations look back at this feud? Was it the moment Kendrick ascended or the moment Drake fell? Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you on in this war of words and legacies? Do you believe Drake crossed a line by invoking Tupac's name, or was it simply another chapter in the brutal art of rap beef? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed the breakdown. Subscribe so you never miss the next twist in the world of hip-hop, and hit that notification bell so you're always first in line when the drama unfolds. This is only the beginning, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.